Welcome to a, the science of lake freezing. The science of lake freezing. When the water reaches 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees centigrade, it begins to freeze into ice. Ice will form first around the shoreline when spread inward. Now you see the ice is seen in the uh, around the shoreline. That means, near the beginning of the lake. Shore. That's what. Okay. Right. Once the ice takes over the surface of the lake, once the ice takes over the surface of the lake, now you are seeing white patches. Okay. It will begin to move downward, causing the ice to thicken. So the ice goes on thickening from the surface down to the bottom of the lake. Now, how does a lake freeze? This is an interesting science. As the air temperature drops, the temperature of the upper layer of the lake drops too. As the temperature of the air above the lake drops, the temperature of the lake surface also, water surface of the lake also drops. The cooling surface water becomes heavier and denser. The cooling surface water becoming heavier and denser. Usually, the basics of water. At 4 degrees centigrade, the water is thickest or densest. Plus 4 degrees centigrade, not minus. Now, eventually, to the point that it sinks towards the lake bottom and forces the warmer, less dense water to the surface. This is very interesting. This is the science, wonderful science. What is it? As the water is thickest at plus 4 degrees centigrade, once the water thickens at plus 4, it goes down, pushing the 0 degree centigrade or plus 1, plus 2, plus 3 degrees centigrade up. This is a very interesting science. The process of upper layer cooling and sinking occurs until temperature of all the water in the lake drops to approximately 0 degrees centigrade. The point at which the water reaches its max. Okay. The water, as I said, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Or you can say at plus 4 degrees centigrade. This is what the science says. Water is densiest. Now you are seeing from a distance the upper layer of the water in the lake is somewhat okay warmer than the bottom layers. Now, as the air temperature and water at the lake surface becomes colder than 39 degrees Fahrenheit, something rather unique happens. I repeat once again. As the air temperature and the water at the lake surface becomes colder than 39 degrees Fahrenheit, something rather unique happens. That is, the water molecules at the surface spread apart. The water molecules, now, see, the water molecules at the surface are spread apart, and the surface water becomes less dense than the water below. The surface water, that's what I'm saying. Surface water becomes less dense. It becomes less dense. Please see, it is less dense than the water below. This is unique because typically in nature, as things get colder, they contract and never expand. Now, so this expansion allows the cooler surface water to float upon the slightly warmer water just below it. This is the phenomena what you are seeing here. I repeat for your academic and scientific interest. This expansion allows the cooler surface water to float upon the slightly warmer water just below it. Once the surface water cools to approximately 32 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, the water molecules crystalline into interlocking lattice like patterns and ice is formed. The ice takes up more room or space. Ice takes up more room or space than the water it was made from. Okay, which makes the ice lighter than the water below it, allowing the ice to float on top of the water. I repeat once again for your academic and science interest that the ice takes up more room than the water from where it was formed, which makes the ice lighter than the water below it, allowing the ice to float. Now you are seeing the ice above the okay ice in the from a distance you see ice on the floating. Below it is the water. Now shallower lakes usually freeze before deeper lakes since the shallower lakes contain less water that needs to be cooled down. Okay, if the ice was denser than the liquid water, then what will happen? Then the ice would sink and the lakes would freeze completely from the bottom up. The lakes freeze from their perimeter to the center since there is less water in the shallower areas that needs to be cooled. That means, um, uh, relatively shallower lakes, complete uh, thickening of water or complete ice formation takes place, may allow skating, may allow even cycling also, may allow. So how does the ice become thicker? This is very interesting. How does the ice become thicker? Once an ice film has formed on the surface of the lake and the air above the ice continues to be colder than the ice will thicken. I repeat once again the scientific statement. Once an ice film has formed on the surface of the lake and the air above the ice continues to be colder than the ice will thicken. The colder air above the ice causes heat to leave the lake water under ice and form the ice itself. Very, very interesting statement. Very good scientific finding. The colder air above the ice, the colder air above the ice causes heat to leave the lake water under ice and for, from the ice itself. So this is the thing I would like to share with you. So science is concerned. As the winter air gets colder and colder, okay. Now we are seeing a red, coating like I mean, a floating uh, object like it's not exactly floating. It is a stationary. It is a stationary object. That's what you are seeing now. What is it exactly? Okay, there. Just hold your breath. Imagine there are very good sportsmen, okay, who had taken that particular site for okay, rent for a day or two or three, depending upon their rent for fishing. There they are doing fishing. Imagine that red, okay, square like structure you are seeing. It is a place where some sportsmen have. It is customary here. If you pay the money in advance, if you book it, okay, you can go for fishing in the lake, frozen lake. How it happens? How fish? It's very interesting. Water temperature crosses the lake reduce and lake surface pressure. This is the basic thing. Because fresh water is maximally dense at 4 degrees centigrade or 39 point degrees 2 Fahrenheit. The water at temperature below 4 degrees centigrade actually rise to the top of the water column, making the bottom layer warmest and the most attractive habitat for certain fish. This is very interesting. I repeat once again how fishing takes place. Because fresh water is maximally dense at 4 degrees centigrade. or 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit. The water temperature less than 4 degrees centigrade actually rise to the top of the water column, making the bottom layer warmest and the most attractive habitat for certain fish species to survive during the winter. So, to fish those things, they come usually warmer water fish survive at 25 degrees centigrade or 77 degrees Fahrenheit, and colder water fish survive at 10 degrees centigrade or 50 degrees uh, Fahrenheit. Okay, so this is a very interesting site for you to see the fishing that is done by certain sportsmen, certain adventure, okay, uh, personalities, persons, they just come here, go for fishing in the frozen lake. This is what I would like to share with you. Thank you for very patient here.